When you think of the upcoming OP12 format and you hear the phrase blue-purple, I can actually hear your eyes roll to the side as your first immediate thought of the format is the big bad wolf blue-purple Luffy. But what if I told you that you could play the same color combination but more fun? Sure, it may not be the BDIF, but it is a much more unique deck and actually feels great to play. OP12 Legacy of the Master released a new leader into the format that matches both the color combinations and some of the typing of your least favorite opponent right now in Sanji. Although with many of these shared features, Sanji plays extremely different as an entire deck running through a theme of events. If you do not know, Sanji has two leader effects. One being an activate main once per turn, you don -1 and you can activate up to one Straw Hat Crew type event with a base cost of 3 or less from your hand. But not only that, when you're attacking, if you have the same amount of Dawn cards or less than your opponent on the field, you can add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. This allows you to create combos of seemingly playing these 3 cost or less Straw Hat Crew events for free. And remember that you can only cheat out Straw Hat Crew type events, so unfortunately, no Sanji's peel off, even though Sanji is literally in the name. It's in East Blue. It sucks. We'll get into a deck list and showcase a match later in this video, I promise. But when this deck was first released, we started to see popular Japanese YouTubers and players like Hiroaki Yamakawa-san, who, in my opinion, was the first person that I saw really trying to innovate and dive into deck building on this leader. And eventually, about a month ago, we saw a pair of players with the same exact deck list, same 50 cards at the Hiroshima Japan Championship, finished within the top 16, both of them in the top 16 of a deck that not a lot of people knew about. Those two players being Moroheya-san and Keimai-san. Hopefully I pronounced those right. My Japanese, not great. So you can imagine with two players piloting the same 60 cards that this deck list actually might be pretty good. Not just necessarily a one-of fluke in the championship. We covered their stream matches on the channel, showcasing the strengths and weaknesses of the deck in different matchups. There's still so much to be explored within this archetype and leader, which I plan on doing in OP12. And they actually wrote a really good note article about the deck matchups, their performance in the event, and I actually highly encourage you to read it if you want to get much more of an understanding of the deck and really get some extra insight that can help you prepare for when this deck first release in the West. But before we get into the match that I recorded showcasing the deck and one matchup that we actually didn't see streamed in the Hiroshima CES, let's hear from more from our sponsor. If you've been following the channel a while, it's no secret that I absolutely love Nen Garden playmats and designs. Ranging from their One Piece themed playmats like the Heavenly Yaksha that I use all the time, upcoming card games like Gundam where they have the White Devil playmat, which I can't wait to use at locals, as well as brand new designs they're constantly coming out with, like this smiling playmat, which is absolutely gorgeous. I will get one. They've also got this brand new Tony Chopper pre-order for both regular and XL, which is one of the cutest playmats I've seen, and there's even a Labubu on it. You can save some money at checkout on your next favorite playmat by using the code Atrocious. My code's actually been bumped up to 8% that you can save on checkout on these already slashed prices. Make sure to click the link in the description below, not only to help support the channel, but also a great friend of the channel. Thank you, Nen Garden, for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to that video, actually. So in this game, now going into this, going to be looking at the starting hand right here, and I have a little bit of draw, but I don't really think that this is a hand worth keeping, right? You have a little bit of movement with the Kaya, you have a little bit of movement with the Luffy will be king of the pirates, right? Kind of two draw cards right there, one being an event. But I think I'm really looking for something a little bit more than that. Maybe trying to find a Sanji, or maybe trying to find like a Boof Burst or something like that. And we move off. I'll be going second in this game. Ruben on the right side going first. Just going to play that Merry-Go stage to set up that draw one. Great card, just replaces itself in the hand. Digs a little bit deeper. I'm going to start out with an event. When you're at sea, you fight pirates. So looking for a Straw Hat Crew type card that's like 90% of this deck. So plenty of options to grab, right? I can grab a character, I can grab an event. So looking at the hand and also my options, I'm going to go ahead and grab the Boof Burst. I'm going to be bottom decking a couple different things like a Gum Gum Giant, Jet Culverin, things of that nature, but putting that one in the hand and then going off with the last on doing a Concassere. I personally don't really like doing the leader effect on my first turn, regardless of going first or second. I just feel like it's a little bit too much Dawn minus early. I think you can get away with it going second, but going first, probably definitely don't want to do it because I think in your second turn, you really want to play Sanji or something that 3 costs. So I'm just going to pass off the turn right there. Could have gone a little bit more aggressive, but decided not to. Ruben is going to go ahead when you're at C5 Pirates and find a Luffy Taro. And with this Nami as well, just do a ton of searching in this turn. Really just trying to find Sanji and Pudding. And to no avail. No Sanji and Pudding in these top searches that he's got or the draws. Could go ahead and find a when you're at CU5 Pirates, right? Could be like another dig 3 for it, but he's eyeing up this 2K right here because his hand does not have a lot of counter, especially for the early game. You don't want to take too many 5, 6K swings before you're really using your leader effect and getting to the later stages. So just grabs the Franosuke right there, puts it in hand. After this as well, just going ahead with a 6K swing. Looking at my hand size, thinking about what cards I can play on the turn, right? I'm probably playing the Boof Burst, so I do have to have 6 cards maximum in the hand, and right now I'm at 8 after taking that life. So 6 before you take the life is really the minimum that you want to do, and now playing the Sanji and using the Sanji leader effect to get this Boof Burst off will allow me to have 6 cards in hand and a draw 2. Plenty of draw on this. No need to have that removal aspect of the Boof Burst right at this point, just simply because there's not really anything worth removing right now. And for the last on, I'm going to go ahead swing 6, and with my leader effect, because he is ahead on Dawn, go ahead and take a life and re-ramp a Dawn. There is reason, I believe there's a Pudding in my hand. I think a 1-drop Pudding, so there is potential that I could have played that down or the Kaya in there just to get more draw, more filtering, more set up for the game. But I wanted to try to get him to take a life at that point. I didn't want to go too far behind on life. The Luffy is going to go ahead with the Zorojuro, grab a Gum Gum Giant. Great card, Ryan, as you all know in this one. Still no Sanji Pudding at this point. And so just one Dawn left. Is just looking at a 6K swing right here at lead once again. So I took the first one, but I don't think I'm going to be taking the second one right here. Going to be pitching this Sanji or the Hachi at this point, and the Sanji is the one that I'm going to get rid of. And so drawing for turn. Once again, Ruben at 5. I'm going to be at 6. So using leader effect, I'm going to be able to re-ramp once again with the Sanji leader effects to be able to keep this train moving. So plenty of options in my hand right now, right? Especially with the 7-card hand. I'm going to start out with a Kaya, and the Kaya on this draw is going to be a nice draw 2, trash 2. The reason that I'm doing this is I'm thinking about putting 5 events in my trash, right? I've got 3 right here if you've seen the little indicator down at the bottom. And so if I get to 5, this 3-cost Sanji that I have on the field is going to gain 1,000 power, right? Because it's every 5 events that I have in my trash. So going to get rid of these 2, the Concassere and that purple event that I actually forget the name of at this point, and gain 1,000 power on this Sanji. This is going to be a minimum 2K that's going to be needed. And I wanted to do that 1 cosplay as well on the Kaya because of Gum Gum Jet Culverin, right? Especially because the Merry Go is not going to be used on boosting this Zorojuro. I just wanted to get it off the field, right? I didn't want to have it anywhere to be able to attack. I want to minimize the amount of swings that this Luffy is putting pressure on me. So thinking about doing a 7K swing, but first I should definitely do a 6K Sanji swing, right? This character, just in case there's maybe like an electrical Luna trigger or something of the sort. So now swinging 7 and using leader effect. Apologies, that's Sanji's in the middle of the screen. That's my bad. I'm going to end the 3 with just another Sanji. 2 6K Sanjis now onto the field, and with 6 events in trash, they're going to be building as time goes on, right? With an event that has plenty, or with a deck, I'm sorry, that has plenty of events. So Ruben now at 7 Dawn, I believe. Still no Sanji and Pudding to play out onto the field. Is really thinking about this Frankie that he's got, right? Frankie might be able, if he plans on using leader effect in this turn, to be able to re-ramp the Dawn, right? Because we would be tied on it at this point. So ends up going in with a Rush Luffy. So the Rush Luffy, because I have 5 or more Dawn, is going to be able to gain Rush. And with the leader effect, is going to be able to put 3 Dawn up to him as a 6k leader. Now the 6k swing coming into face. So I got to think about a 6k and a 7k at this point. And just before, because he remembered that he was behind on Dawn, just getting that boost up on the Luffy to be an 8 cost real quick before the leader swing, just because you never know if there's like a potential trigger or something that could bottom deck it. So you always want to give up that cost on the characters if you're not swinging the character first. I go ahead and 2k off of that swing, and now the 7k swing I go ahead and take, and the Frankie comes in re-ramping a Dawn because he is behind and is going to pass off the turn. He is currently at 6 Dawn now, so I do have to actually be wary about that because my leader effect not necessarily going to work at this point, at least the second half. I'll still be able to cheat out an event, but I'm not 100% sure about the other leader effect about re-ramping. So 6 events in the trash. Maybe thinking about another boof burst right now, just being able to draw some cards. And the Pudding right here, a great card, right? Finds a lot of your 2Ks and the Sanji characters, but finds events like Red Rock. And so I'm actually going to Red Rock. I do not want this Luffy on the field right now. This Luffy, especially being able to swing twice, could be a big threat to me. So I'm going to get rid of that. Can't cheat it out with the Sanji leader effect like I'm using right here because it is more than a 3 cost, but sets me up perfectly to be able to use a boof burst and get my 8th event in the trash. So now on this 6,000 power swing, I'm at 7 Dawn, so I'm actually not going to be able to ramp because he is at 6 Dawn and not 7. So that's another interesting thing in the matchup for anyone who's curious. And I end up trying to put the Dawn there until realizing that, oh yeah, you used leader effect last turn. So is just going to be a 6,000 power swing starting off with lead. There are 3 swings that he does have to go to, countering out with the 2K Sanji on the first one. This second swing right now end up taking the life, and the third swing going to be another 2K. So already putting him at 1 life. I feel pretty decent at this point. I'm not 100% confident yet, right? Because the Luffy swings are always very prevalent that you got to watch out for, but a Luffy Taro that I knew he had in hand is going to go ahead and play down the Zorojuro, maybe finding a Sanji Pudding this time. And look at that. There is the Sanji Pudding. One of the things he's thinking about, though, at this point is maybe I don't want Sanji Pudding right now. Maybe I want to go aggressive with another Secret Rare Luffy or maybe some counter, but ultimately grabs the Sanji Pudding to put into the hand. Has plenty of different counter events, right? Like Gum Gum Jet Gatling, has a Gum Gum Giant Gavel, and ends up using leader effect to once again go back on Dawn to be able to boost up one of these bodies. I think boosting up the Zorojuro and not the Luffy Taro, right? Especially because I revealed maybe a bounce back 4 cost event trigger. Definitely want to be bouncing up the Zorojuro, I think, when you start swinging at life. So starts out with a 5K swing and goes ahead and ramps. Is only going to still be at 6 Dawn. So my leader effect really going to be negated at this point in the game. It's something you want to think about in this matchup. Is going to potentially go in, thinking about whether he wants to swing with leader and how much with leader. The Zorojuro obviously can't swing. So now 7,000 power coming at lead at this point. And I don't have any Dawn open to be able to utilize for something like a Gum Gum Giant or Concassere or anything of the sort. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the life, right? End up with the other card in hand. Now going to 9 Dawn in total right now. So I top deck a Reiju. Reiju going to be a really nice card, I think, probably for this matchup specifically because of Reiju's boost that it gets on the cost. I've got a couple other things that I can do with the rest of this turn, though, that I need to think about in this Reiju. Since I have 4 or more events in the trash, being 8, gaining 2,000 power in power, and also plus 5 cost. So a 9 cost, 7,000 power blocker on the field. Going to be really good, I think, for my game plan. So now, utilizing the when you're at sea, you fight pirates, I am going to draw through the top 5 to try to find something that I want to look for. I'm going to be grabbing a Boof Burst. So the Boof Burst, not going to be able to get rid of the Zorojuro because of the boost, but I'll be able to draw a little bit off the Boof Burst if I want on this leader effect to be able to cycle through the deck a little bit more and give myself a couple more options as my 9th event hits the trash. Or I'm sorry, the 10th event hits the trash. So now the Sanjis on the field that I've got, those 3 costs, are 7,000 power, getting another +2. It's almost like a Burgess at home, right? When you ask mom, can we have a Burgess? She says, we do have Burgess, and it's just the Sanjis. Definitely not as powerful, I think, of a card, right? Because it needs more events, but still a pretty good one, right? Especially with that blanket protection. And so on the draw, I'm going to find a Jozu, just really trying to find counter, I think, at this point. And don't worry, I remember to put that back in the trash. I've got 3 Dawn left. Thinking about just going ahead, using one for the 6,000 power swing. And I've got a couple more options that I can do in the hand, or just leave up 2 Dawn as potential counter. So 6,000 power swing coming in. He is going to take this life. And so I'm thinking right here, maybe I just try to go for game. Maybe I ignore this Frankie, or maybe just really try to get the Gum Gum Giants that are in the hand right, get a lot of pressure. So I am going to swing 7 now with this first Sanji. A Gum Gum Jet Gatling comes in, gets away that Brick Mary Go, and another 7,000 power swing coming in with a 9 sword style Dead Man's Game. So really like seeing those 2 events already come out of the hand, just simply because you love seeing the different counter events, especially Dead Man's Game, right? I've got this Reiju blocker, don't want it to be rested. Now Ruben moving into the turn. I think now has 2 Sanji Puddings in the hand, is going to be at 8. We're both at 8. And so Sanji Pudding is going to be able to draw 1 since we're both tied. And now with the leader effect, is going to be able to re-ramp 1 back, but still be behind on Dawn, right? Again, kind of negating my leader effect, making it a little troublesome in that aspect, as I'll be going to 10 next turn. So now as a 6K leader, still has 6 Dawn to work with, I think. Has a couple different attacks that he can do through the Frankie, the Sanji, things of that nature. Is going to start off with the 5,000 power swing from the Frankie and is going to re-ramp to go to 8. I, in hindsight, really wish I would have dealt with this Frankie earlier, right? With like a leader swing or something. Just kind of an annoying body out onto the field that is constantly re-ramping him, making his leader effects a little bit easier to manage despite not having the Sanji Puddings, but you live and you learn in the matchup. So going ahead on that 7,000 power swing, I'll use my Gum Gum Rain event because my Gum Gum Jet Gatlings are in the deck on the other side of the table. So it's really interchangeable in this deck, in my opinion. You can run Gum Gum Rains or Gum Gum Jet Gatlings, whichever you prefer or own, or a combination of the 2. But I'm going to go ahead and use a Gum Gum Giant on this other swing right here, just to be able to draw cards and go back on the Dawn, right? Really try to put myself in a position to be able to use leader effect in the later stages of the turns. So now this swing from the Luffy Taro, I am going to go ahead, take this life. It is going to be a let's crash this wedding. So drawing into the top 5 and grabbing a card. I go ahead and grab a Boof Burst. In hindsight, I kind of wish I grabbed like a Gum Gum Rain. I don't really know what Boof Burst is going to be able to grab me at this point, especially because I'm going to go for game at this point with 14 events in the trash. And I low-key kind of wish that I was patient a little bit more, kind of waited an extra turn right here. I've got 2 Reiju blockers in the hand. Saw Dead Man's Game. If I grabbed like maybe Gum Gum Rain off of that draw, I would be able to have a ton of counter in the hand. But counting up the amount of events in there, there's 14 in total. Just need to play 1 maybe off of like a leader effect to be able to get out of this. You know, Concassor in the hand as well. I'm going to attach one to the Reiju, and I'm going to start swinging with the Reiju. So I would have also in this turn, if I would have played this a little bit differently, I would have swung the Sanji first if I planned on going for game, right? Attach one to the Sanji or maybe two to the Sanji and go ahead and swing with that first, just to not reveal, because I think that this is pretty apparent at this point that I am going for game, right? Resting my blockers. So he's going to draw two and grabs a 3K counter event of Dead Man's Game and an Usohachi on top of that. So now the Boof Burst from One of the Dawn is just going to draw me a couple cards. Again, not too sure what that's going to do except for give 1,000 power to the Sanji. So, and at this point as well, since I am at 7 Dawn, I'm kind of locked out from playing double Reiju at this point. So trying to figure out what my best math is. I think my best math is 999, and definitely want to swing with the Sanjis first before your leader. Definitely mistakes were made this game, but still a good slot on the 999. He is going to go ahead and use the Gum Gum Giant once again, and especially using it on the Dead Man's Game. This 9K swing, I probably should have played a Reiju blocker, right? Especially if they're using Gum Gum Giant and still having a Dawn up. It's kind of telegraphed at that point to be like another Gum Gum Giant swing. So does get out of that, but still with this 9K swing, right here, I have one more in my leader. I go ahead, swing the 9 at this point, and 2K, 2K, 1K gets out of it. And so it is going to go ahead and do that. Still had a 2K worth of counter in hand. And the game ends right here because, well, we stop playing. But the green purple Luffy is literally just going to swing out, and I don't have enough counter in hand to be able to get out of it, especially because I committed all of my Dawn. So I think I was a little aggressive in this game. Definitely probably want to take it a little more patient, especially as the Sanji, and who knows, maybe I could have given a plus 1,000 power again if I was just took a turn off in a sense with the Sanjis. I'm trying to think what was the most that I had in trash. 15, probably wouldn't have gotten to 20, but maybe had potential, especially as, you know, using like maybe a Gum Gum Rain, the Concassor event, things of that nature to build up to maybe like 18 events or something in trash. But let's go look at this deck list. So here's the deck list that I was piloting in the video, and what I believe to be a pretty good deck list and very, very, very similar, maybe a couple cards off of the Hiroshima Japan Championship that was showcased. Looking at the list, you have a lot of good draw within this deck, right? The Kayas, the Puddings, being able to find and filter out in the hand of different stuff, and plenty of events that actually draw as well in the Concassor, right? Not only being a nice, I believe, 4,000 power event, but also having draw potential if your leader is Sanji, right, on that main phase. Let's Crash This Wedding, a good searcher event for Straw Hat Crew, which is almost everything in your deck. I would say like 80%, 75, 80% of it. Luffy is the man that will become King of the Pirates is another great event, right? Especially because you don't have to reveal what card you actually get. So is a great way to conceal hand information, and Boof Burst is a nice draw event as well. Brochette Blow, we did not showcase it in this game, is a really nice event, right? To be able to clear out some bodies on the field, right? Having that minus power is almost kind of like your own version of Gamma Knife or Mole Pistol in a sense, being able to minus power on these different characters. The big surprise that was in this deck from the Hiroshima Japan Championships that I've actually really enjoyed, even though we didn't really showcase it in this game, is Jozu, right? Similar to Red Rock, it's a great removal event, right? Getting a body off of the field, as Jozu is a little bit higher than something like Boof Burst or Gum Gum Jet Culverin to help deal with that kind of middle ground sense of bodies that are above 4 cost. What's also great about Jozu, though, is it picks up a lot of your bodies that you play down in your 1-drops in Kaya and Charlotte Pudding, whether that is being a little bit more counter in the hand, right? If you had played Kaya earlier, now you have a 2K that's back in your hand, or potentially replayability, right? We saw me in the game utilize Kaya to be able to put more events in trash. You can kind of do that same thing once again, or even with Pudding, if you put that back in your hand, search out for another another great event. You definitely can cycle with this deck, right? So knowing your bottom decks in your order of the bottom decks is a really important factor in here. There's a lot of great draw, and I think in hindsight, after playing a little bit with this deck, I think it's a much more patient deck, right? I think I was a little bit aggressive with it, but I think you want to be patient and kind of really set up multiple Reijus. You want to set up multiple Sanjis, right? Getting power and power and power and power, and really kind of get into a position to where like these bodies are so nice that your opponents can't really deal with. And so then you go in and you go for a game, especially since Sanji has that continuous blanket effect. Any reason outside of KO that it would be removed from the field, you could just don -1 instead, and you can do that as many times as you want in a turn. So if there's a multiple KO situation like Rob Lucci, or maybe a multiple bounce / bottom deck set of effects, all I have to do is don -2 to get out of that. And sometimes that can be really advantageous and help you win the game. This deck is a ton of fun, and honestly, I think this deck is relatively cheap, especially when OP12 comes out. So make sure you got your pieces in there. And also, especially with Kaya, right? Kaya being confirmed. I usually don't talk about rotation, but being confirmed staying in the deck for past April with rotation, this deck will survive a little bit longer, especially with all of these pieces. I'm trying to think. I think only like Gum Gum Rain. No, Gum Gum Rain is in PRBO2, which is confirmed saying so this deck will survive the full rotation in April. So is a little cool fun fact for those of you that are complaining about rotation and are not sure what you want to play. This is a cool one, I think. Even if Gum Gum Giant gets hit, I still think this deck has some potential, right? And can still be pretty good, especially because you have other counter events that give you power on top of it. Even though that Gum Gum Giant, I will say, is an incredible card, and it's a really good card, especially in a Straw Hat Crew purple deck like Sanji. But thank you so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your opinions down in the comments below, and I hope to see you later in this one. Thank you.